We move to Botswana now, where the Director of Public Prosecutions has withdrawn criminal charges against a woman believed to be a co-conspirator in an alleged regime change plot. Former security agent Wilhemina Maswabi had been linked to South African businesswoman Bridgette Motsepe, with both being accused of money laundering. The charges allege that Maswabi was a co-signatory to the Motsepe's bank account. The Pan-African Parliament ambassador has repeatedly refuted the 2019 allegations to remove Masisi from power or launder money for the alleged regime change plot. Maswabi's charges of possession of unexplained property and false declaration of a passport were withdrawn without prejudice. SABC International News Editor Sophie Mokoena joins us now to talk about this. A very good evening to you, Sophie. So the dropping of these charges, what does it mean for the butterfly case as it's known?
Yes, indeed, the DPP in Botswana wanted to drop these charges today. They went to court, but unfortunately, the lawyer of Mrs. Maswabi, Meg Bahuma, opposed the application to drop the charges. I think the concern is around the issue of whether these are permanently withdrawn or dropped, but it looks like Gerinel, AfriForum's Gerinel, who is being used by the Botswana Public Prosecution Authority to prosecute those who were allegedly plotting to destabilize Botswana, wanted the preliminary withdrawal of the charges. Now, we know that on many occasions when I spoke to some people who are familiar with these processes in the prosecution authorities, they tell me that when they say charges are preliminarily withdrawn, it's when the government is trying to avoid the lawsuit. And therefore, I think in this case, Botswana government is fully aware that Butterfly or Wilhemina Maswabi will later sue the government. And we know that former President Ian Khama has already indicated that he is going to do just that. And so did Bridgette Motsepe, who is a South African citizen and a businesswoman, but also ambassador of the Pan-African Parliament. She has also indicated that she is going to take steps against those who made those allegations, because the Central Bank of Botswana said there was no such money. The three major South African banks have also dismissed the allegations that there were transactions that they had to approve pertaining to these allegations. And also the South African Reserve Bank, there's no way you can be able to do this. The rules, the regulations that governs the South African Reserve Bank is very tight when you talk about money. And the money that they were talking about, it is almost the entire GDP of Botswana. And therefore, one MP of Botswana had asked a question to the Reserve Bank governor in Botswana, who had since indicated that there was no such a transaction. So I think now the government, because it is the government, the complainant, they are in a tight corner because they don't have strong evidence. And I think the intention was to let her go, and with the hope that the other two automatically won't do a follow-up. But unfortunately, Meg Bahuma, her legal rep indicated that he wants the matter to continue in September.
Okay, and just very quickly to wrap up, Sophie, what is the COVID-19 situation like in Botswana? We've just reflected on Nigeria.
Botswana is having serious challenges in terms of procurement of vaccines. The newspapers over the weekend, a cry was that there are no vaccines available. And perhaps it will be much better, because we know that the Deputy Secretary of State or the Under Secretary of State, who was in South Africa yesterday delivering the 5.7 million Pfizer vaccines, she has gone to Botswana also to deliver a consignment. as promised by President Joe Biden, maybe it will be much better. But I received lots of calls and SMS and voice messages, people complaining that people are dying and they don't have access to vaccines.
SABC International News Editor Sophie Mokoena.